Hi YouTube, it's me Dejan here again, back. I just want to say thank you for the support in the last two videos, and I'd love it if you like and subscribe on this one, and even share it if you want. And today we're gonna skip David because I want to leave that for another video and stay and talk about King Solomon, the topic that I've been thinking about for a while, even before I started my YouTube channel. But most people tend to ignore the ending and how Solomon died. They must have only focused on the fact that he's the wisest man in the Bible. But to me, the way how he ended was kind of lackluster. And today we're gonna go through his story from beginning to the end. The part one of two series. So King Solomon, known as the wisest man in the Bible, handpicked by David, a man after God's own heart. In Kings chapter 2, verse 2, you can read it. It is very, how do I explain it? It gives us the structure to the rest of the story. And at first, everything seems bright. Well, as bright as they can be if you're a new king. And because he's a new king, there's gonna, when you're new in something and people want to take favors from you, that's exactly what Solomon experienced. His elder brother, who should have been king, did not become king. He's asking for the woman whose name is Abishag, the Sumerite, who was David's professional coddler, I would say, and his nurse. He asked Solomon's mother, which would be queen at the time until Solomon gets a wife, because their queen is different from our queen. Yeah. And he asked for his hand in marriage, like I said. Solomon didn't think too well of this, and now he's dead. Oh. And he made other moves such as killing Semai. And then in the following chapter, which is 1 Kings 3 verses 1 through to 14, on a happier note, Solomon makes a political alliance with the Pharaoh, king of Egypt. The people who, used to enslave the Hebrew and the Jews, or the Jews as we know them. He makes political alliance with the colonizers, the former colonizers of Egypt, and decides to secure this political deal by marrying that man's wife. Well, not wife. You thought I was going to say wife. No. By marrying his daughter, the princess of Egypt. You know why I'm kind of surprised? Because I'm really not used to this happening. Up at this point, it was unheard of. Trust me. And that would mark a beginning. But for now, he was righteous in the sight of God, and he started construction of God's holy temple, the first of its kind, the one that won't actually be moved around everywhere like the ones that the Israelites used to have when they were escaping from Egypt and going through the wilderness. They won't have to go and sacrifice up on a mountain or a hill to God. They can just do it in that temple. One problem, it will take over a decade. So for now, whilst that's been happening, God comes to him in a dream in that same verses, in that same group of verses, in Gibeon. And God says that he's going to grant whatever Solomon asks. Yeah, basically like a genie. But genies are copycats because God did it first. And Solomon, being a very wise man, before he even wished for more wisdom, decides to ask to become wise and just, which is the famous tagline and basically his character that people know him of. And two verses after the beginning and examples of this said wisdom, it was in 1 Kings 3, verse 16, straight to 28. He basically decides, you know what, two women came to me asking me to figure out which one deserves the baby because they were arguing over it. And apparently they were harlots who share a room together. And one mother accused the other of lying on their baby and decided to snatch their own and replace it with a dead one. And Solomon decided to get a sword and threatens to chop that baby in half. Yeah, chop that baby in half. And one mother decides, let's share the baby. As if that's a thing. That baby would be dead. This is not bread. And I don't know why I keep saying and. Solomon figures out who's the real mother. Solomon chose the one that showed the most compassion. Example of this was in 1 Kings 5 verse 7, where he decides to impress Hiram, the leader of Lebanon at the time, by telling him about the countries, even though Solomon has never been there or never been known to be there before. He could tell him about the cedar tree and all those stuff. And that somehow struck up a partnership between these two in building the temple and other building projects and other, whatever political leaders do. They've probably done it. And the final example of this was in Kings 1:10, at the beginning of it, from like 1 straight down to 13, where Queen decides to test his abilities, and he surprised her so much so that she decides to stay there for her entire night. Make of that if you will. I'm joking. Nothing happened. In 1 Kings 4 verses 29 straight to 34, it basically gives us an example of how smart he is. He can know, as it says here in my study notes, he has so much knowledge that he can talk about almost anything. Anything. Yeah. From the trees in Lebanon straight to anywhere you can imagine. Which is ridiculous. That makes Solomon the wisest and the smartest person in modern era, right? Yeah. That was when he was in his prime, you know what I mean? Hope you enjoy this concept as much as I do. I'm going to release part 2 very soon, somewhere later on this week. Yeah. Comment below what you think, and bye.